Okay, well on today's show we got Rishi's absolute disaster, Jeremy Hunt's potential tax cuts, a universal credit shake-up, a French illegal migrant betrayal towards us, and much, much more. Let's begin. Now, you know, obviously I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that a Prime Minister's job is basically not only to serve the country, but also to try and keep his party in power, isn't it? Well, maybe actually someone should try and, I don't know, tell Rishi Sunak about that, because it seems lately he seems hell-bent on not only going towards the lefty side of things, of course, but also throwing away whatever chance he has of keeping the party in power and potentially handing the keys to Keir Starmer. And of course I'm saying that because two things have happened, as I'm sure you probably heard. Firstly, Suella Braverman has been sacked, or reshuffled shall we say, which basically is the same thing in my opinion, making the way for James Cleverly to become the new Home Secretary. And secondly, David Cameron has reappeared all of a sudden, which to be honest makes me think that this has been planned for some time, because I don't wish you said, "Oh hello Dave, do you fancy coming back?" straight after sacking Suella. Some probably deal had to happen there, didn't it? So basically they've got rid of someone who actually connected with a lot of voters in their way of thinking and brought in one giant Remainer. And to be honest, it does make me wonder if this whole thing is not only just about Brexit, but also it's just pandering to the left. I mean, can someone please tell Rishi that he's actually a Conservative MP or Prime Minister even, not a Labour one? So if anything, in my opinion, this is the final nail in the Tory coffin, isn't it? I mean, I can't see what hopes Rishi has got now, can you? But not only that, but because David Cameron is now the new Foreign Secretary and he'll have to go into the House of Lords to do that, that will mean surely that he can't actually be cross-examined in the House of Commons and presumably can just agree what he likes without any potential comeback from MPs, or so he might think, but to be honest I reckon all hell will break loose if he even tries it. Next up we've got a story which to be honest has made me more peed off than what a midget would be if he's trying to reach a top shelf magazine, and that is because, can anyone remember a little while ago when we give France all that money to help us out with our little illegal boat people problem? Well, unfortunately it looks like the French haven't exactly been spending it on what they should have been, because rather than spending it on things which you'd think would actually help with the problem, like, I don't know, more people at the border, they've apparently been spending our money, remember, on hose brigade, vacuum cleaners, microwaves, and of course mobile phone chargers, which if anything in my opinion would be to actually give to the illegal boat people, because I can't see what their reasoning behind this would be. So no wonder why every so often it appears they come back and go, "Oh, no, monsieur, we need a bit more extra moolah." Well, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you can't just appear to take a leaf out of Sadiq Khan's book and say, "Oh, I need more money," and then just expect to have it. Because to be honest, that's what it seems like he does every so often. And I think once people hear about this, they're going to be pretty peed off, because I tell you what I am about it. And hopefully the government, you'd like to think, would be as well. And in which case, of course, you'd like to think that they'd actually try to get that money refunded, or at least some compensation. But of course, no! That's more than likely going to get swept under the carpet, isn't it? But anyway, the article says that some £40 million given to Paris to end the Channel migrant crossings has been spent on new equipment. But spending records on Monday revealed, though, how some of the money is being wasted on everyday objects. Analysis has revealed that some £130,383 has been spent on a horse brigade, in a breedy sum, buying riding boots, helmets and care for horses. And as I said, the French have also bought mobile phone adapters, microwaves and hoovers using the money. They also do say, though, that the majority of the aid has actually been spent on helicopters, cars, motorbikes, e-scooters. Well, what use are they going to be on the sand, eh? And quad bikes, binoculars, drones, dash cams, hunting cameras, endoscopes, computer software, in a bid apparently to reduce crossings. But Alf Meffert, the chair of the Migrant Watch, told the Express, "It seems that the French really have been taking us for a ride, as many expected was the case." And to be honest, all of that money should have been spent on deterring and preventing people crossing the Channel illegally, shouldn't it? Not just some of it, all of it. And the French must pay us back, in my opinion. And you'd think that's it, wouldn't you? But unfortunately, no. It also says that some of the money has been given to officers policing France's border with Italy. Italy! That's not the UK, is it? That's our money, which is surely meant for them to stop people coming here illegally. Not anything to do with Italy at all. Ask the Italian government for it, not us. Well, of course, as it appears to happen, we get a few leaks every so often what the government might be thinking. And today, it has come out that Jeremy Hunt apparently is considering some tax cuts for November. Way! And these ones are about time too, in my opinion, because he's apparently, I guess, trying to make some headroom in the budget to cut things like inheritance tax and also stamp duty too, which in my opinion is great because Inheritance tax, in my opinion, is a very disgusting tax. I know it only affects estates worth over £350,000, but at the end of the day, that is the money that the person who died want to go to their family. The government should not be dipping their hands into a dead person's money and appear to say things like, oh, that'll come in handy for my lovely redecorated bathroom, thank you very much. Or, sorry, roadworks, or whatever excuse they want to spend it on. And stamp duty cuts too, well, that should be actually quite interesting, shouldn't it? Because, you know, that I'm guessing affects nearly all of us, doesn't it? Unfortunately, of course, we don't know yet what the exact figures or limits will be to any such cuts, but apparently they'll actually be rolled out in March next year. And this time, unlike Liz Truss, he has actually apparently informed the OBR, which of course is the Office for Budget Responsibility, because I'm guessing that he needs to do something to win over the voters, which, thinking about it, is probably why Rishi thought it might be a brilliant idea to bring back David Cameron. But if anything, that's bound to pee off the people in the Red Wall even more, isn't it? Because, to be honest, if memory serves, they didn't exactly like him very much up there. But anyway, the article says that the Office for Budget Responsibility, the OBR, unveiled that the headroom in public finances has grown between £13 billion and £15 billion. Maybe he knows. I guess Rishi's wife might have had a little something to do with that, although I could be wrong. He previously ruled out tax cuts, but has been urged to reconsider amid fears that the delays could cause the fiscal headroom to disappear. And the move would allow the Prime Minister to apparently regain votes in his party, which could stimulate growth, following last week's figures showing that the UK's economy is stagnating. Well, to be honest, I think for Rishi to gain any votes at all, he'll probably need a miracle. But just remember, of course, he has got until about a year's time to turn things around a bit, which, let's face it, a year is a very long time in politics. Even a week was a very long time in politics for Boris, wasn't it? But anyway, next up, the BBC appears to have made a Pelic out of someone. And it's not just anyone, it's Gary Lineker. What a shame, eh? Because let's face it, in my opinion, he appears to be a lefty-loving, Twitter-moaning person. So what actually happened? Well, apparently they spelt his name wrong, and they spelt it Lineker, Lineker, which hopefully will lead to quite a lot of embarrassing memes, but whether that's for the BBC or Gary Lineker, I'll let you decide. Obviously, benefits for quite a lot of people is a lifeline, especially if they need them. I'm not talking about the idiots who claim benefits when they're not entitled to them. Them people should be stopped. I'm talking about the people who desperately need them. And there is a big change apparently about to come out very soon, which apparently mean that maybe thousands of people will miss out. Now, don't get me wrong, this actually does sound like a very bad thing indeed, but if people can work, then they should be able to work, and they should be helped into work, because at the end of the day, it's our tax money that pays these benefits. And at present, we've got something called LCWRA, which apparently means limited capacity for work-related activity. And I've heard that once they put you on that, then you don't actually have to do anything to look for work, or maybe actually even get reassessed for some time. But they're now thinking apparently of scrapping that part and putting it in the PIP-related activity, which stands for Personal Independence Payments, and from what I've heard, they get reassessed a lot more. So in which case, hopefully it will mean that someone on PIP who was previously on LCWRA and their condition improves, then they'll get helped into work much more quicker than otherwise, I'm guessing. And admittedly, this will cause a lot of people to be a bit peed off, especially if they have no intention of working, but hopefully that is not the case, and the vast majority of people on this LCWRA will actually want to go to work. Because let's face it, it feels actually quite good to earn your own money, doesn't it? And it gets you out of the house too. But anyway, the article says that at present, universal credit claimants who have deemed to have limited capacity for work-related activity, or LCWRA, receive an additional £390 per month on top of their standard allowance. And proposed plans would apparently see the LCWRA element scrapped and replaced by the health element, and people will only be awarded extra payment if they receive the Universal Credit Standard Allowance as well as the component for PIP. And this new approach will apparently mean there will be a single assessment, the PIP assessment, to determine eligibility for both the PIP and the new Universal Credit Health Element. Those found not eligible for PIP would not receive the health element. Because let's face it, if you can work, then you really should be able to work, not rely on taxpayers' money that you might not be entitled to. Now, of course, it's quite good to have British-made products, isn't it? Presumably, of course, because it's made here, and then we don't have to rely on imports, and therefore it could potentially be cheaper for us. But unfortunately, that sadly isn't the case, is it? Quite a lot of the time, British-made, in a lot of cases, can actually be dearer, strangely enough. But of course, for things like farming, you'd like to think that would be cheaper. However, unfortunately, it looks like we could soon end up relying on imports for things that farmers would produce, because there are apparently plans for a UK solar farm to be built on land equivalent to 40,000 football pitches, which if anything could actually be used for our farmer needs, couldn't it? And would give us who knows how much produce that actually we could buy in the shops and support our local farmers. And obviously this is to do with energy, isn't it? No doubt, of course, because of the rise in EVs or carbon neutral energy, but they just seem to ram down our throats all the time, don't they? But they have got to think that if land is used for solar, then it can't obviously be used for other things, can it? There's of course one silver line, and what you'd like to think, wouldn't you? That hopefully this means that if we're going to have a load of solar panels to produce energy for us, then hopefully, the energy price would come down, if anything, not continue to rise up faster than I do when Amanda Holden's on the telly. Of course, it does make me wonder that if this is actually successful in Wiltshire, where apparently it's going to be done, then how long will it be before it spreads around the whole of the country, meaning that surely more land which farmers could potentially use is then going to be taken up with nothing more than solar panels. But anyway, the article says that the equivalent of 40,000 football pitches of farmland is slated to be turned into energy farms which could produce as much as 20 gigawatts of electricity. And this will involve the installation of as many as 60 million industrial solar panels, as well as 2,000 to 3,000, generating another 4 to 6 gigawatts, and also in the home countries and the south. The energy regulator apparently aims to eliminate zombie wind farms and solar farms which says are holding up the rollout of renewable energy. And for the country of Wiltshire in southwest England, a heritage group is protesting against the development of new solar energy farms, with 42 already open and another 12 in development. But it does also say, wait for this, that consumer bills could be cut by £51 billion over 15 years, Ofgem said. Well, that's a nice figure, isn't it? And no doubt, of course, they'll probably try and ram that down our throats as much as possible, but it does make me wonder how much of that money, or cut, shall we say, will we actually see? No doubt they'll probably offset it with future price rises that just need to come into effect, coincidentally, of course, at the same time as the cuts. But, you know, there is a chance I could be wrong. And last but not least, Royal Mail is once again in trouble, and they've been fined £5.6 million for apparently significant delivery target failures. Now, obviously nowadays there are quite a lot of parcel companies about, so you'd like to think that there isn't going to be as much parcels for them, so hopefully things can get through the system much quicker. Maybe, who knows, part of the reason why they're missing their delivery targets is because they seem to cut down on their days all the time, don't they? I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was a boy, I remember used to getting 2 deliveries a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Then, of course, it just went daily, and now we've been hearing rumours recently that they're going to knock Saturdays on the head, which is bound to have an effect on their delivery times, isn't it? I'm guessing the reason for them even wanting to cut down on their days is because they're getting less mail through the post. But you'd like to think that rather than cutting down on their days, mail will instead be sped through the system, arriving at the recipient even quicker and therefore given more value for money. And in which case, of course, you'd like to think that people would then want to give Royal Mail their business rather than go on to one of the other companies. But of course, there is a problem, because Royal Mail seem to be putting the prices up faster than a fat man at an all-you-can-eat contest. But anyway, the article says that Royal Mail has been fined £5.6 million by regulator Ofcom for a significant failure to meet its postal delivery targets in the past financial year. Ofcom imposed the penalty following an investigation launched in May after Royal Mail fell short of its performance targets across the 2022 to 2023 financial year for first and second class mail deliveries. And apparently some 73.7% of first class mail was delivered within one working day across the year, against a target of 93%. That's quite some difference, isn't it? While 90.7% of second class mail was delivered within 3 working days, compared to the target of 98%. That's still a bit of difference, but no way near the first. And in which case, you'd think that if they're failing to meet these targets, they'd actually put the price down or give us customers some compensation for it. Because if we pay for a service, we expect that service, don't we? Especially at the moment with prices going up like anything, it seems. Ofcom said that this means that Royal Mail breached its obligations by failing to meet the targets by a significant and unexplained margin. This caused significant harm to customers, and Royal Mail took insignificant steps to try and prevent this failure. Well, hopefully they will do now, and they certainly should do, in my opinion. And if you think that's bad, then wait until you see this video here about Royal Mail's delivery, shall I call it.